Hello and welcome to the episodes of Future Neuroscientist. I'm Janika Ruuska and I'm studying neuroscience at the University of Helsinki, but currently I'm doing my master's thesis here in Australia. In today's episode, I will tell you how was my 1 week break in Bali. Welcome to today's episode. Sorry about the background, but I really needed to do my laundries and I wanted to record this video as soon as possible because everything is still fresh in my mind. So I will do soon video how my studies are actually going or my thesis. It has been quite intense and I enjoy it a lot, but it was also really nice to have this break to Bali. Actually, I had my flights to Bali before Corona, but they got cancelled, surprise. So this was really meaningful trip in so many ways. But in today's episode, I will tell you what I needed to prepare for the trip. I will talk about transportation, how it's easiest to go around. I will tell you where did I stay, which places and which kind of accommodations. I will tell you what kind of day trips I did in 1 week. It's quite short time. And I need to share you my favorite places to eat or visit. And finally, I will tell you what were the best parts of the trip and also share the most important tips. So if you are dreaming your trip to go to Bali, this episode is for you. Oh, by the way, as you can see, I didn't get any tan. I'm a little bit disappointed, although it was only 1 week and it was once in a while raining, so I blame that. I started to plan this trip, or not like plan, but dream about this trip when I knew that I'm coming to Australia because it's fairly short flight there, around 6 hours from Melbourne to Bali. Before I left, I worked pretty hard and somehow I had a little bit hard time to leave my job to go to the holiday because I also enjoy my job and I think everyone has quite a lot to do. So, but yeah, the practical things, what I needed to prepare for the trip, they changed quite close by my trip, and they might change still. So please check what is needed. But for me, it was I needed to fill the EZD. I needed to have an insurance which has the COVID addition part. I chose Covermore. It was recommended for me, so that's why I chose it. And then I needed to have my vaccine certification, and they have this app called Peduli Lindungi or something like that. In Bali, you needed to have it uploaded, but gotta say that it didn't work. So the idea is that you can upload your vaccine certificate there, but yeah, and they didn't ask about the app, but you need to have it, I guess. Then obviously you need to have your flights and your accommodation. They might ask about those, but from me they just asked how long I will stay and why I'm there. So EZD, insurance, vaccine certificate, this app, which name I can say, and flights and accommodation. Oh, and then you shouldn't be sick. I booked my accommodation via booking.com because I have used it quite a lot when traveling happened more often. So that is the reason I booked my taxi via booking.com because I have some benefits there. But there are other options too, but just I feel it was super nice to have this one-way taxi booked, especially because I arrived to Bali midnight, so I didn't want to spend my time there to figure out where to find my transportation to the place where I'm staying. I will soon tell you the other options, and I used the other options when I was in Bali, like already kind of in my accommodation. But one thing, if you book your taxi beforehand, they will wait you there with the name, but there were like, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, I don't know, so many people waiting with the name. and it was so hard to try to find yours. I was lucky. My driver were a little bit out from the crowd, so I was able to spot him. I think the price depends about many things. Mine was via booking.com, so that's why it was cheaper. But when I took my taxi to the airport, it was around $30 Australian dollars, around. Yeah, but yeah, around that price. But yeah, it can depend. My first taxi was way more cheaper. I did quite extensive research because I'm a researcher. So what kind of transportation would be trustworthy? One taxi company popped up quite many times, called Bluebird. Just make sure, there's also app for that, I guess. But there were taxis which had similar color, and then they had a blue bird which was blue, but the taxi company name wasn't Bluebird. So I don't know how those can also be really trustworthy, but if you really want the Bluebird, check that it's actually reading there. I didn't use that taxi company at all, because while I was staying in Bali, I used the app called Gojek. There are two similar options, Gojek and Grab, and both have apps, and you can also order food. You can order transportation via bike or the scooter, or by car. I think there might be some other things too, but those were the main. So similar as Uber, but they have their own. I asked about which one I should use, and they basically said that they're really similar, but Grab is more international and Gojek is more local. So that's the reason why I chose Gojek, just to support a local. But there's one thing with these two. So for example, I did a day trip from Canggu to Uluwatu, and it was fairly cheap. So these apps are a bit more cheaper than the taxi. But then there are some rules, because those are not, how to say this, they are not banned or looked badly if you use those, but certain areas doesn't support those so much. So for example, when we went to Uluwatu, there were some area where they are not kind of allowed, so you need to walk to the main street and order it from there. We didn't put our card information to the app, and I also heard that it's not working correctly, at least for some people, but you can just order it and put that you pay by cash. I withdraw the money only from the local banks, like the ATMs. I read few articles or few blog posts about it, and it was recommended. And then I asked from the people who were staying in the same accommodation which one they used. So then I used the same. Basically, so local ATM, local bank ATM, and then I chose the place where they actually had security guys next to the ATM. I had my few bank cards just in case if some of them doesn't work, but I'm mainly using, when I'm traveling nowadays, this card called Vice. I recommend to check that. It was my first card here in Australia before I get my local. But the best way to go around is by renting a scooter, because it gives you so much freedom, and everyone are using scooters. The only thing is that there are, in certain times, there are huge traffic jams. So driving, don't rent a car, don't do that. They cause the jams because the roads are so narrow, so two cars can't fit there. So yeah, but with the bike also, just be aware that if you haven't used to use a scooter, don't learn it there. It's, yeah, there are no rules, and there are many lines, the bikes and the cars and everything, but it's okay. If you have used to driving a scooter, then you will learn how things goes there. I mean, learn the habits in that country. But if you don't have any skills I wouldn't recommend to do that. But otherwise it was so perfect just to go around with that, because the weather is so hot. I tried walking few days and that was enough. Rental of the scooter is around 8 Australian dollars per day. Some locals were like, oh, that's not cheap. Like, that's a bit more expensive than it used to be. But I think most of the places had the similar price. One thing which may come as a surprise is that there is usually no gas left when you rent a bike, so you need to do that in the first place. But full tank is maybe same price as the scooter and you will not use the full tank. So I stayed 4 nights in Canggu, if I can count the first night, because I was there like midnight. The first 2 nights I spent in this place called the Rhythm and Rumble, and I had a dorm bed it was 4 beds in total. Then few nights in Aston Canggu Beach Resort, and then I changed to the Ubud for 3 nights and I stayed in Villa Ubud Sunshine. This Rhythm and Rumble, I really like that place. I think quite many backpackers goes there, so you will meet a lot of people, and I think quite common is that people stay there a few nights. Some people stay there way more longer. If I would know I really like that, I would maybe book it a longer time. But yeah, I like the vibe. It was really relaxed and everyone were really kind. The Aston Canggu Beach Resort, it was quite fancy for me. It was beautiful, but I feel that in this dorm place in Rhythm and Rumble, it was just easier to talk with people and like collect your own family from there. But the other place was okay too. And the Villa Ubud Sunshine, it was really like in the center of Ubud, which is really hectic. But then the villa was like kind of inside, so you couldn't hear too much the traffic. From Canggu, I did 2 trips, one to Seminyak and one to Uluwatu. In Seminyak, I drove by bike, which wasn't the best idea for my first drive because the traffic jams, but it was okay. We visited Motel Mexicola, which was nice, but yeah, not maybe my favorite place. The second place we visited was called Potato Head, and that I would recommend to visit if you go to Seminyak. So basically, I did these trips either alone or then with the people who I've met while traveling. In Uluwatu, we went by Gojek, and the person who I traveled with had a surfboard, which was okay to take to the Gojek. We took the bigger one. You can choose the car size, so we took the biggest one just to make sure we can actually have it there. But if you are a surfer, that's okay. We visited a single fin because the surfing area is apparently nice. I have tried once, I love that, but it wasn't my place to try it again. If I would stay there, maybe next time I will stay in Uluwatu for a bit longer than just a day trip. I would recommend that. I would love to visit El Capron. It was suggested for me and it looks really nice. It should be a kind of a beach club thingy with the amazing view to the beach, like from the cliff. Yeah. And for sure, Padang Padang Beach would be another thing I really would like to do there. Yeah. But what comes to my favorite places, in these 2 places I actually stayed longer than just the day trip, so Canggu and Ubud. So if I need to choose just the 3, I would name from Canggu beach club called La Brisa. I checked also the lawn, which was also pretty nice, and I saw videos from the Finn Beach Club, but the La Brisa is, I would say, more bohemian, so a little bit more relaxed, really nice structure. I didn't actually stay there until night. I was just walking around. It's quite popular, so if you would like to have a nice spot from there, book your place. So La Brisa is one of my favorite places in Canggu. My favorite breakfast place, oh, this is a hard one. I would say I'm Vegan Babe. That was so good breakfast, and just like, yeah, that was super nice. Then one thing, so quite many places I googled beforehand because I love to dream a bit. But so I talked with people who I met there, and they recommended another places. So I visited quite many. So my third favorite would be one of these recommended places, and it was called Poke Poke. It was fairly cheap place to eat, and if you are a climber, there is this really small climbing place next to it, so you can combine those. So from Canggu I continued to Ubud, and I had a person picking me up from the place I was staying in Ubud, from Canggu to Ubud, which is again similar price as to the airport. I feel everything just, yeah, 30 Australian dollars between these like long distances. I bet you can find a little bit cheaper ones too, but around that price. As I mentioned, by car the traffic jams are awful. Obviously the drivers there know how to avoid those, but just prepare that it might take longer than the Google Maps says. So Canggu was mainly like, it's next to the beach and kind of relaxed place, loved a lot of nice restaurants and party life, not too hectic but still a lot of going on. Whereas Ubud is kind of more spiritual place. There is no beach, so it's a middle of jungle, I would say. It's jungle for me. A lot of green, and it's really hard to say which one is better. They are so different, so I would recommend to check at least these two places. From Ubud I did the basic things like monkey forest. I'm a bit scared of monkeys, so yeah, I don't recommend that, sorry. And then I did the rice fields, although it was just harvested, so yeah, it was really nice to see still. And I went there by bike, like the scooter, which was like good. You pay some small amount the closest rice field. Yeah, I supposed to go to Mount Batur, the morning hike. You leave around 2 and you start hiking around 4, and then you are back to your accommodation around 10, just to see the sunrise. I can't remember how much it should be, but unfortunately it was raining when I was there, so I decided not to go, because one day it was cancelled and then I thought it will be a little bit muddy, and I had other plans too. But in Ubud, rent a scooter again. It was so convenient to go around. One of my favorite places were called Jungle Fish, and actually person from the Canggu recommended it to me. So it's I think 15 minutes drive by bike, and it's a middle of the jungle, and there is this really beautiful infinity pool, and yeah, it's amazing. I can't even describe that, but yeah, go there if you happen to be there. And then 2 other favorite places, I would say the cafe called Zest. Really fancy, fresh food, vegan food, but still really relaxed. Still, I meant like fancy, but still really relaxed place. It's quite busy because other people have found it too, and it's really like in the center. And then I really like a place called Sayuri Healing Food. It's a little bit more bohemian than Zest Cafe or Zest Ubud. The Sayuri Healing Food, there you can sit on the floor, Also vegan food, really healthy food. Someone told me it was a little bit too spiritual to him, so it's a little bit different, but super nice. I happened to be in Ubud while it was Kuningan Day, when they celebrate, if I remember correctly, kind of that the spirits goes back to the heaven. They have ceremonies on that day, and I didn't know about this, gotta admit that. But I realized when people talked, locals there, that some places are closed, so I started asking around. Then they mentioned this Kuningan Day, and then I asked from my villa one person who is working there, a local person, that what is that, and he invited me to his home to see how the ceremony is. And that was maybe one of the best memories from Ubud. Just to see a little bit outside from the city, be invited to someone's family, see how it goes. And when we came back, we visited this place where we were able to taste coffees, so it was actually really good too. It's hard to pick only 3 best things, but when I think about the whole trip, the best part, I really loved the country, and all those places I visited, but people, I met a lot of people. I met people from France, US, Canada, Morocco, England, India, and so on, so many places. And some people were just traveling, some of them has settled down there, and all those stories we shared, it was just really magical, and I felt really welcome. Maybe that was the best part. I can choose. But final tips to Bali. When you are at home, before you leave and you have the Wi-Fi, download Google Maps. Choose the area you are interested in and download that offline map. You will need it. Wi-Fi at the airport doesn't work. Maybe 5 seconds it works, but not too well. I used only Wi-Fi during my whole trip, but I gotta say I would be happy if I would be wiser. So just buy the SIM card. It's around 10 Australian dollars. It's for 1 month, so it's really affordable, and it makes your life easier. Even though most of the restaurants, I guess, at least the places I visited, they have Wi-Fi, but if you get lost, that's just easier. And also ordering, if you use the Gojek, that's easier when you have your own SIM card. I downloaded the Google Maps, and I also saved the places there, so the places I really wanted to visit. So then I was able to check I'm now here and I would like to actually visit that place too, and it's really close by, so maybe I combine these two. But this is just me, I'm a really organized person. Flexible but organized. The final thing what I want to say today is that Bali is just opening everything, so it takes time that the small business there, what they have will be more kind of normal. So just when you are choosing the places, if possible, I understand that the luxury is amazing, and maybe more affordable than someone's home country, so do that for sure. But if possible, go to some small places to support the business there. Alright, that was all about my trip to Bali. I hope you got the best tips which helps you to plan your trip. Now it's time to go back to my business, and I will tell you hopefully soon how my thesis is going. Thank you for following my journey. Remember to subscribe the channel. Bye!